The old cargo ship New Dawn moved slowly through the dark space between the stars. Its metal hull was covered with scratches and dents from years of hard work. Paint had chipped off in many places, making it look even older than its 25 years. Anyone who saw it would think it was just another worn-out cargo hauler barely worth the fuel it burned. Captain Jake Miller stood on the bridge, watching the stars through the front window. His weathered face showed the lines of a man who had spent half his life in space. His gray hair was cut short, and his blue eyes held the steady look of someone who had seen both the best and worst that space had to offer. He wore a simple work uniform, nothing fancy or military-looking. "Captain, we're getting close to the Kepler system," said Amy Davis from her seat at the navigation controls. She was young, maybe 25, with short brown hair and quick, intelligent eyes. Her fingers moved over the control panel like she had been born to fly through space. "Good. How long until we reach Haven's Rest?" Jake asked. "About 6 hours at current speed," Amy replied. She paused and looked at her instruments again. "But Captain, I'm picking up something on the sensors. There are ships ahead of us. Big ones." Jake moved to look at Amy's screen. The display showed 12 large objects moving in formation near the planet Haven's Rest. Each ship was at least 5 times bigger than the New Dawn. Their sleek, dark shapes looked dangerous even on the sensor display. "Zephyrian warships," Jake said quietly. "A whole battle fleet." From the engineering station, Sam Carter looked up from his work. He was a thick-built man in his 40s, with strong hands that could fix anything. His bald head was covered with sweat from working on the ship's systems. "Zephyrians? What are they doing way out here?" "Nothing good," said Lisa Brooks from the communications station. She was a slim woman with long black hair tied back in a ponytail. Her earpiece crackled with alien voices speaking in harsh, clicking sounds. "I'm listening to their radio traffic. They're calling this a security operation." Jake felt his jaw tighten. The Zephyrians were a warlike species that had been pushing into human space for months. They claimed they were just protecting their borders, but everyone knew they were testing Earth's strength. Their ships carried enough weapons to destroy entire planets. "Open the channel to their fleet," Jake ordered. Lisa worked at her controls. "For a moment. Channel open, Captain. This is Captain Miller of the human cargo vessel New Dawn. We request safe passage through this system. We're carrying medical supplies to the colony on Haven's Rest." The answer came back in heavily accented English. The voice was cold and filled with contempt. "Human vessel, this is Admiral Vextar of the Zephyrian 3rd Battle Fleet. You may pass, but stay away from our ships. We do not wish to be bothered by your primitive technology." Jake kept his voice level. "Understood, Admiral. We'll keep our distance." The channel closed with a sharp click. Jake looked around at his crew. They all had the same worried expression on their faces. "They're not here for security," Amy said quietly. "Look at their formation. They're getting ready to attack something." Jake studied the tactical display. Amy was right. The Zephyrian ships were arranged in a classic attack pattern. Around Haven's Rest, they were just waiting for the right moment to strike. "Lisa, can you intercept more of their communications?" Jake asked. Lisa nodded and put her hands back on her controls. Her earpiece filled with alien voices. She listened for several minutes, her face growing more worried with each passing second. "Captain," she finally said, "they're planning to attack the colony. They're waiting for us to leave the system first. They don't want any human witnesses." Sam slammed his fist on his control panel. "Those alien bastards. Haven's Rest has 50,000 people. Half of them are kids. We have to warn them," Amy said. "We're the only ones who can get word to Earth Command in time." Jake looked at the display again. 12 massive warships against one old cargo hauler. The Zephyrians had enough firepower to destroy 100 ships like the New Dawn without breaking a sweat. But 50,000 innocent people were about to die, and his crew was the only thing standing between them and destruction. "Captain," Lisa said, "I'm also picking up something else. The Zephyrians are jamming all long-range communications from the colony. Haven's Rest can't call for help. They don't even know the fleet is here." Jake felt the weight of decision settling on his shoulders. He had faced tough choices before, but never one like this. If they tried to fight, they would probably die. If they ran, an entire colony would be wiped out. He thought about his crew. Amy was brilliant but young. Sam was tough, but had a family back on Earth. Lisa was brave, but had joined the merchant service to avoid military conflict. None of them had signed up for a suicide mission against impossible odds. But Jake also thought about the children on Haven's Rest, kids who were probably playing in the colony's gardens right now, not knowing that death was hanging over them in the cold darkness of space. "Captain?" Amy asked quietly. "What are we going to do?" Jake looked at each of his crew members. He saw fear in their eyes, but also determination. They knew what he was thinking, and they were ready to follow him wherever he led them. "We're going to stop them," Jake said. Sam's eyes widened. "Captain, we're a cargo ship. They're a battle fleet. We don't stand a chance." Jake smiled for the first time since they had detected the alien ships. It was not a pleasant smile. "Sam, there's something I need to tell you all. Something I should have told you a long time ago." He walked to a control panel that looked like all the others on the bridge. But when he pressed his palm against it, the panel lit up with military-grade security codes. "A New Dawn isn't exactly what she appears to be," Jake said. "And neither am I." The crew stared at him in shock as more hidden panels began to light up around the bridge. The old cargo ship was starting to show its true face, and that face looked very different from what the Zephyrians expected. "Lisa," Jake said, "send a coded message to Earth Command. Tell them Operation Sledgehammer is about to begin." Outside the ship, the Zephyrian fleet continued its lazy patrol around Haven's Rest. Admiral Vestar barely gave the human cargo ship a second thought. After all, what could one pathetic human vessel do against the might of the Zephyrian war machine? He was about to find out. The bridge of the New Dawn transformed before the crew's eyes. Hidden panels slid open to reveal military-grade equipment that had been concealed for years. The worn cargo ship was shedding its disguise, like a snake shedding its skin. Jake Miller stood at the center of it all, no longer looking like a simple cargo captain. His posture had changed, becoming straighter and more commanding. The easygoing merchant captain was gone, replaced by someone who clearly knew how to fight. "Amy, Sam, Lisa," Jake said, his voice now carrying the authority of a military officer. "I need you to listen carefully. Everything I'm about to tell you is classified at the highest levels." Amy stared at the new control panels appearing around her station. "Captain, what is all this? This equipment?" "It's not civilian grade." "No, it's not," Jake replied. "The New Dawn is part of something called the Trojan Horse program. We're not really a cargo ship. We're a weapons platform disguised as a merchant vessel." Sam's mouth fell open. "A weapons platform? But I've been working on these engines for 2 years. They're standard cargo hauler engines," Jake smiled. "Look again, Sam. Really look." Sam turned to his engineering console and began running new diagnostics. The readings that came back made his eyes go wide. These aren't cargo engines. These are military-grade fusion drives. They're running at maybe 20% of their real power. "That's right," Jake said. "And the cargo holds aren't full of medical supplies. They're full of weapons that the Zephyrians have never seen before." Lisa pulled off her earpiece and stared at Jake. "Who are you really?" "My name is Jake Miller, and I really am a ship captain, but I'm not a merchant captain. I'm a commander in Earth Defense Force Special Operations. I've been flying missions like this for 15 years. Amy's hands moved over her navigation controls, accessing new systems she had never seen before. These tactical computers, they're incredible. I can track every ship in the Zephyrian fleet and predict their movements. You're not just a navigator, Amy, Jake said. You're a tactical officer, one of the best Earth Command has ever trained. You've been running combat simulations in your sleep for the past 6 months. Amy blinked in confusion. But I don't remember any of that. Memory blocks. Jake explained. We couldn't risk the Zephyrians finding out what you really knew if they ever captured you. But now that we're going into combat, the blocks are lifting. You'll remember everything soon. The communication board in front of Lisa lit up with new frequencies and encryption codes. She stared at them for a moment, then her eyes cleared with sudden understanding. I'm not just a communications officer. I'm an intelligence specialist. I've been studying Zephyrian military tactics for years. Now you're getting it, Jake said. All of you are military personnel. We volunteered for this mission, knowing it might be our last. The Trojan Horse program puts weapons platforms in civilian disguises all over the galaxy. We're humanity's secret weapon. Sam was reading more data from his engineering station. Captain, these weapon systems? Some of this technology is theoretical. How did we build it? Earth scientists have been working on it for decades, Jake replied. Ever since we made first contact with hostile alien species, we've been developing countermeasures. The Zephyrians think they're superior to us, but they're about to learn that humans are very good at surprises. A new voice came through the ship's speakers. It was cold and professional, clearly military. Commander Miller, this is Earth Command. We've received your coded message. You are authorized to proceed with Operation Sledgehammer. Show them what humanity can do. Jake pressed a button on his command chair. Understood, Command. Beginning weapons deployment now. The ship shuddered as hidden mechanisms began to work. Along the hull, panels that had looked like standard cargo bay doors began to slide open. Inside, instead of boxes of medical supplies, were rows of sleek weapons that gleamed with deadly purpose. Railgun batteries coming online, Sam reported. These things can fire projectiles at 15% of light speed. Amy was studying the tactical display. The Zephyrians are still in attack formation around Haven's Rest. They have no idea we're a threat. That's the point, Jake said. Lisa, start jamming their communications. I don't want them coordinating an attack on us. Lisa's hands flew over her controls. Jamming frequencies active. They won't be able to talk to each other once we start shooting. The New Dawn's engines began to change their sound. The low rumble of cargo hauler drives was replaced by the high whine of military-grade fusion engines. The ship's speed increased rapidly. Hull armor deploying, Sam announced. Stealth coding is coming online too. We're going to be a lot harder to detect and even harder to hit. Jake looked at his crew. Their faces showed a mixture of fear and determination. They were remembering their training now, remembering why they had volunteered for this mission. Amy, plot an intercept course for the nearest Zephyrian destroyer, Jake ordered. Course plotted, Amy replied. We'll be in weapons range in 30 minutes. On the main display, they could see the Zephyrian fleet still moving in its lazy patrol. Pattern. The alien ships were massive and powerful, but they were also slow and overconfident. They thought they were hunting sheep, not wolves. Captain, Lisa said, I'm intercepting more alien communications. Admiral Vexstar is getting reports about our changing energy signature, but he's dismissing them. He thinks we're just having engine problems? Jake nodded. Good. The longer he underestimates us, the better our chances. The New Dawn continued to transform. Sensor arrays extended from hidden compartments. Shield generators powered up with a deep humming sound. The ship that had looked like a tired old cargo hauler was becoming something sleek and dangerous. All weapons systems ready, Sam reported. We have enough firepower to cripple their entire fleet if we use it right. Amy was running calculations on her tactical computer. Their formation has weaknesses. If we hit them from the right angle, we can take out 3 ships before they know what's happening. And after that? Jake asked. After that, we'll be in the fight of our lives, Amy replied honestly. Jake stood up from his command chair. Around him, his crew was preparing for battle. They were no longer merchant spacers trying to deliver cargo. They were Earth's hidden warriors, about to show the galaxy that humanity would not be pushed around. All right, people, Jake said. The Zephyrians think we're weak. They think we're primitive. They're about to learn that the most dangerous thing in the galaxy is a human with nothing to lose. The New Dawn accelerated toward the alien fleet. Behind them, the colony of Haven's Rest continued its peaceful existence, unaware that its fate was about to be decided by 4 humans in a ship that wasn't what it seemed. Admiral Vextar was about to get the shock of his life. The New Dawn streaked through space toward the Zephyrian fleet like a hunting predator. On the bridge, Jake Miller watched the tactical display as they closed the distance to their enemies. The alien ships were still moving in their lazy patrol pattern, completely unaware of the danger approaching them. 20 minutes to weapons range, Amy reported from her station. Her fingers moved quickly over the tactical controls as she calculated firing solutions. The nearest destroyer is the Bone Crusher. It's separated from the main fleet by about 5,000 kilometers. Jake nodded. Perfect. We'll hit it first and use the confusion to get closer to the others. Sam was monitoring the ship's systems from his engineering station. All weapons are charged and ready. The railguns are loaded with armor-piercing rounds. These things will punch through their shields like paper. Lisa looked up from her communications console. I'm monitoring their radio traffic. They're still talking about us like we're just a broken-down cargo ship. Admiral Vextar just told his officers that we're not worth worrying about. Good, Jake said. Let them keep thinking that for a few more minutes. The New Dawn's hull continued to transform as they approached the enemy fleet. The last of the fake cargo panels fell away, revealing the ship's true nature. Weapon ports opened along the sides like the eyes of a giant predator. Shield generators hummed with power. 10 minutes to weapons range, Amy announced. The Bone Crusher is turning toward us, but slowly. They think we're just changing course to avoid them. Jake studied the tactical display. The Zephyrian destroyer was huge, at least 10 times the size of the New Dawn. Its dark hull was covered with weapon emplacements and armor plating. Under normal circumstances, it could destroy 100 human ships without breaking a sweat, but these weren't normal circumstances. 5 minutes to weapons range, Amy said. All targeting systems are locked on. Jake pressed the ship-wide communication button. All hands, this is the captain. We're about to engage the enemy. Remember your training and trust your equipment. We're going to show these aliens what happens when they threaten innocent people. The distance between the ships closed rapidly. The Bone Crusher grew larger on the main screen, its weapon ports beginning to glow as it prepared to fire. But it was too little, too late. Weapons range achieved, Amy announced. We have a clean shot. Jake took a deep breath. Fire. The New Dawn's railguns spoke with a sound like thunder. 6 projectiles launched from the ship's hidden weapon ports, each one traveling at 15% of light speed. They covered the distance to the Bone Crusher. In less than a second, the alien ship's shields flared as the projectiles hit them. For a moment, it looked like the shields might hold. Then they collapsed in a shower of sparks and energy. The railgun. Rounds punched through the destroyer's hull like bullets through tissue paper. Direct hits, Amy shouted. The bone crusher is venting atmosphere. Its main engines are offline. On the main screen, they could see the Zephyrian destroyer tumbling out of control. Explosions erupted along its hull as internal systems failed. The ship was still alive, but it was crippled and helpless. That's impossible, Lisa said, listening to the alien communications. They can't believe we just did that. Admiral Vestar is screaming at his officers to explain how a human cargo ship destroyed one of his destroyers. Jake smiled grimly. Well, now they know we're not just a cargo ship. Amy, plot a course for the next target. The New Dawn changed direction, heading for another Zephyrian destroyer called the Star Killer. But this time, the aliens were ready. The entire fleet was turning to face the human ship, their weapons charging for battle. Incoming missiles, Amy warned. 20 of them, coming in fast. Evasive maneuvers, Jake ordered. Let's see how good their targeting systems are. The New Dawn twisted and turned through space like a dancer, avoiding grasping hands. The ship's advanced maneuvering systems made it incredibly agile for its size. Most of the alien missiles missed completely, exploding harmlessly in empty space. 3 of them found their target. The ship shook as the alien warheads exploded against its shields. Warning lights flashed on the bridge as the defensive systems strained to absorb the impact. Shields at 70%, Sam reported, but they're holding. More missiles were coming, and this time there were 40 of them. The Zephyrians were taking the human ship seriously now, concentrating their fire to overwhelm its defenses. Amy, can you get us close enough to the Star Killer for another railgun shot? Jake asked. Amy's hands flew over her controls. I can try, but we'll have to go right through their missile barrage. Do it. The New Dawn accelerated directly toward the oncoming missiles. It was a dangerous gamble, but it was their only chance to get close enough to the enemy destroyer for an effective attack. The ship twisted and rolled as missiles exploded around it. The hull rang like a bell as shrapnel bounced off the armor plating. The lights flickered as the shields absorbed impact after impact. Shields at 40%, Sam called out. We can't take much more of this. Almost there, Amy said through gritted teeth. Just a few more seconds. The Star Killer loomed ahead of them, its weapons charging for a point-blank shot. The alien ship was so close now that Jake could see individual weapon ports on its hull. Fire! Jake shouted the railguns. Fired again, their projectiles slamming into the Star Killer's hull before its shields could fully activate. The alien destroyer shuddered as the rounds punched through its armor and exploded inside its hull. Critical hit. Amy announced, "The Star Killer is breaking up." On the main screen, they watched the Zephyrian destroyer tear itself apart. Internal. Explosions ripped through the ship from bow to stern. Within seconds, it was nothing but expanding debris and escaping atmosphere. 2 down, 10 to go, Jake said. How are our weapons? Railguns are recharging, Sam reported. But we used up half our ammunition on those 2 ships. We need to make every shot count. The remaining Zephyrian fleet was closing in around them now. The aliens had abandoned their patrol formation and were moving to surround the human ship. Admiral Vestar was no longer underestimating his opponent. They're trying to trap us, Amy warned. If they complete that formation, we'll be surrounded. Lisa looked up from her communications console. Admiral Vestar is ordering all ships to focus fire on us. He's telling them to forget about the colony for now. We're their primary target, Jake nodded. Good. That means Haven's Rest is safe for now. The New Dawn found itself in the middle of a deadly web of alien warships. Energy beams and missiles came at them from every direction. The ship's shields flared and sparked as they absorbed the punishment. "Shields at 20%, Sam reported. "We need to get out of here, or we're finished." Jake looked at the tactical display. They were outnumbered 10-1, surrounded by enemies and running low on ammunition. Any sane person would have tried to escape, but Jake Miller wasn't just any person. He was a human being, and humans had a reputation for doing impossible things when their backs were against the wall. "Amy," he said, "do you remember what you learned about quantum physics in your special training?" Amy's eyes widened as more memories came flooding back. The quantum disruptor. "But Captain, that weapon is still experimental. We don't know if it will work." "We're about to find out," Jake said. "Sam, prepare to activate the quantum disruptor." Sam's hands moved over his controls. "Captain, if this thing destabilizes, it could destroy us along with them." Jake looked around at his crew. They were all afraid, but they were also determined. They had come this far, and they weren't going to give up now. "Then we better make sure it doesn't destabilize," Jake said. "Fire when ready." The 10 remaining Zephyrian ships formed a tight circle around the new dawn. Their massive hulls blocked out the stars as they closed in like the jaws of a giant trap. Energy beams and missiles poured from every direction, turning the space around the human ship into a deadly light show. Admiral Vexstar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominator, watching the battle with cold satisfaction. The human ship was trapped now, its shields failing under the constant barrage. Soon it would be destroyed, and he could return to his original mission of wiping out the human colony. "Continue firing," he ordered his weapons officer. "I want." That ship turned into scrap metal. But on the bridge of the new dawn, Jake Miller was far from defeated. He watched the tactical display as Sam Carter prepared the quantum disruptor for activation. The weapon was humanity's most advanced piece of technology, so secret that only a handful of people in the galaxy knew it existed. "Quantum field generators are online," Sam reported. "But Captain, I have to warn you again. This weapon works by creating tears in space-time. If something goes wrong, we could tear a hole in reality itself." Amy was working frantically at her tactical station, calculating firing solutions while the ship shook around them. "The quantum disruptor needs a precise target to work properly. If I can line up the enemy ships just right, the quantum field will chain react from one to the next." "How many ships can we hit?" Jake asked. "If I do this perfectly, maybe 6 or 7, but we'll only get one shot. After that, the quantum field will be too unstable to use again." The new dawn's shields flickered and sparked as more alien weapons found their mark. The ship was taking a beating, but it was still holding together. Human engineering was tougher than the Zephyrians expected. "Shields at 15%, Sam announced. "We've got maybe 2 minutes before they fail completely." Jake looked at his crew. They were all focused on their tasks, trusting him to make the right decision. The weight of 50,000 lives on Haven's Rest rested on his shoulders, along with the lives of his 3 crew members. "Amy, do you have a firing solution?" he asked. Amy's fingers flew over her controls. "Almost there. The enemy ships are moving into a perfect line. If we fire now, the quantum field should jump from ship to ship like lightning." "Lisa, what's the alien chatter telling us?" Jake asked. Lisa pressed her earpiece closer to her ear. "Admiral Vexstar is ordering his ships to tighten the formation. He wants to make sure we can't escape." Jake smiled grimly. "He's about to regret that decision. Amy, are you ready?" "Ready, Captain." The quantum disruptor is locked onto the lid. "Ship, the field should cascade through their entire formation." Jake took a deep breath. Fire. The quantum disruptor activated with a sound like reality itself being torn apart. A beam of twisted energy shot out from the new dawn, hitting the nearest Zephyrian ship. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the alien vessel began to shimmer and fade, like a mirage out the quantum field jumped to the next ship in line. Then the next. Each vessel caught in the field began to break apart at the molecular level. Their hulls dissolved like sugar in rain, their metal structures coming apart atom by atom. "It's working," Amy shouted. "The quantum field is cascading through their formation." 6 Zephyrian ships were caught in the deadly chain reaction. The aliens aboard them didn't even have time to scream before they were reduced to their component particles. The massive warships simply faded away, leaving nothing but empty space where they had been. Admiral Vextar watched in horror as half his remaining fleet vanished before his eyes. He had never seen anything like it. The human weapon had literally erased his ships from existence. What was that? He demanded of his science officer. What kind of weapon can do that? "I don't know, Admiral," the terrified officer replied. "Our sensors can't even detect how it works. It appears to manipulate space-time itself." Vextar felt fear creep into his heart for the first time in years. He had been so confident in his fleet's superiority, so sure that humans were primitive and weak. Now he was facing technology that his own scientists couldn't even understand. "All ships maintain distance from the human vessel," he ordered. "Do not let them get close enough to use that weapon again." But on the new dawn, the crew was celebrating their victory. The quantum disruptor had worked perfectly, destroying more than half of the remaining enemy fleet in a single shot. 6 ships destroyed, Amy reported. "That leaves 4, including the flagship." Sam was monitoring the weapon systems. "The quantum disruptor is offline. The field generators are burned out." "We can't use it again," Jake nodded. "That's okay. We've evened the odds enough. Lisa, what are the aliens saying now?" Lisa listened to the alien communications for a moment. "They're terrified, Captain. They've never seen anything like our quantum weapon. Admiral Vextar is trying to maintain order, but his crew is panicking." The 4 remaining Zephyrian ships had pulled back to a safe distance. They were still firing their weapons, but their shots were less accurate now. Fear had replaced confidence in their tactics. "They're being more careful now," Amy observed. "They don't want to get close enough for us to use another quantum weapon." Jake studied the tactical display. The aliens were keeping their distance, but they were still trying to wear down the new dawn's defenses. It was a war of attrition now, and the human ship was at a disadvantage. "We need to get closer to them," Jake said. "The railguns are our only remaining weapons, and they're not effective at long range." "But how do we get close without them running away?" Sam asked. Jake thought for a moment. "We make them think we're finished." "Sam, can you make our engines look like they're failing?" Sam grinned. "I can do better than that. I can make it look like our whole ship is about to explode." "Do it." Sam worked at his controls, feeding false information to the ship's external sensors. To the Zephyrians, it would look like the new dawn was critically damaged and about to suffer. "A complete system failure. It's working," Lisa reported. "The aliens are getting excited. They think we're about to blow up." The Zephyrian ships began to move closer, wanting to watch the human vessel's destruction. Admiral Vextar was cautious, but his desire for victory overcame his fear. "Close to weapons range," Amy announced. "They're taking the bait." Jake waited until the enemy ships were almost on top of them. "Now, Sam, full power to engines and weapons." The new dawn suddenly roared back to life, its engines blazing with renewed power. The Zephyrians realized, too late, that they had been tricked. The human ship was far from finished. "Fire all railguns," Jake ordered. The remaining projectiles streaked toward the surprised alien ships. 2 of them took direct hits, their hulls cracking open like eggshells. The 3rd ship managed to avoid the worst of the damage, but it was still badly hurt. Only Admiral Vextar's flagship remained undamaged. The Dominator was the largest and most powerful ship in the fleet, armed with enough weapons to destroy a small planet. But it was also alone now, facing a human crew that refused to give up. "One ship left," Amy said, "but it's a big one." Jake looked at his crew. They were exhausted and battered, but they were still fighting. They had come so far and sacrificed so much. They weren't going to quit now. "All right, people," he said, one more time. "Let's finish this." The Dominator hung in space like a sleeping giant, its massive hull scarred but unbroken. Admiral Vextar stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring at the human vessel that had destroyed his entire fleet. His hands shook with rage and fear as he watched the small ship maneuver just out of weapons range. "Admiral," his weapons officer said nervously, "the human ship is still operational. Our sensors show it has weapons remaining." Vextar's eyes burned with hatred. "Impossible. How can one primitive human ship defeat the entire Third Battle Fleet? We are the masters of this galaxy." On the bridge of the New Dawn, Jake Miller studied a tactical display. The Zephyrian flagship was 3 times larger than any other ship they had faced. Its armor was thicker, its weapons more powerful, and its shield stronger. But it was also alone and surrounded by the wreckage of its escort ships. "That's one big ship," Sam said, looking at the sensor readings. "The Dominator has enough firepower to level a continent." Amy was running calculations on her tactical computer. "Our railguns can penetrate its armor, but we'll need to get close." "Really close?" "How close?" Jake asked. "Close enough to touch," Amy replied. "The flagship's main guns have a minimum range. If we can get inside that range, it won't be able to hit us with its heavy weapons." Lisa looked up from her communication station. "Admiral Vextar is sending a message on all frequencies. He's calling for reinforcements from the nearest Zephyrian base." Jake felt his heart sink. "How long until they arrive?" "Maybe 2 hours," Lisa replied. "But Captain, I don't think help is coming. The other Zephyrian commanders are too scared to face us after what we did to this fleet." The New Dawn circled the massive flagship like a small predator stalking a wounded giant. The Dominator's weapons tracked the human ship, but Vextar was being cautious. He had seen what happened to the other ships that underestimated their enemy. "We need to end this quickly," Jake said. "Sam, how much ammunition do we have left?" Sam checked his weapons display. 6 railgun rounds, that's it." "Then we'll have to make them count," Jake said. "Amy, plot a course that will take us under the flagship's hull. If we can hit the main reactor, we can finish this." Amy's fingers flew over her controls. "That's a suicide run, Captain. We'll have to fly through their entire weapons grid." "I know," Jake said quietly, "but it's the only way." The crew of the New Dawn looked at each other. They had come so far and fought so hard. Now they were being asked to risk everything on one final attack. "I'm with you, Captain," Amy said firmly. "Let's finish what we started," Sam nodded. "Those people on Haven's Rest are counting on us." "I won't let them down," Lisa smiled. "Besides, we've come too far to quit now." Jake felt a surge of pride in his crew. They were the best humanity had to offer, and they were proving it today. "All right then, Amy, take us in." The New Dawn accelerated toward the massive Zephyrian flagship. The Dominator's weapons immediately opened fire, filling space with deadly energy beams and missiles. The human ship twisted and rolled through the barrage, its pilot's skill keeping it just ahead of destruction. "Incoming fire from all sides," Amy reported through gritted teeth. "I'm doing my best, but there's so much of it." The ship shook as several energy beams found their mark. The hull armor glowed red hot where the alien weapons struck. Warning alarms blared throughout the bridge as systems began to fail. "Shields are gone," Sam announced. "We're running on armor alone now." "Keep going," Jake ordered. "We're almost." There. The New Dawn dove toward the Dominator's hull like a missile. The flagship's point defense guns swiveled to track the small ship, but it was moving too fast and too unpredictably for them to get a clean shot. "There!" Amy shouted, pointing at the tactical display. "The main reactor." "I can see the thermal exhaust port." Jake looked at the target. It was a small opening in the flagship's hull, barely larger than the New Dawn itself. Hitting it would require perfect accuracy and incredible luck. "Can you make the shot?" Jake asked. "I'll have to," Amy replied. "Sam, I need all remaining power to the targeting systems." Sam's hands flew over his controls. "You've got it. Everything we have left is going to weapons and targeting." The New Dawn streaked along the Dominator's hull, so close that they could see individual armor plates and weapon emplacements. The ship's railguns swiveled to track the thermal exhaust port as they approached. "Almost in range," Amy said. "Just a few more seconds." Admiral Vextar realized what the humans were trying to do. "All weapons, concentrate fire on that ship. Don't let it reach the reactor." The Dominator's entire weapons grid opened fire at once. Energy beams and missiles converged on the New Dawn from every direction. The small ship disappeared in a blaze of explosions and energy. For a moment, it looked like the human ship had been destroyed. Then it burst out of the fireball, damaged but still flying. Pieces of its hull were missing, and one of its engines was trailing smoke, but it was still moving toward its target. "Now," Jake shouted, "fire everything." The New Dawn's remaining railgun rounds fired in rapid succession. 6 projectiles streaked toward the thermal exhaust port at 15% of light speed. The first 2 missed by inches their passage, creating spectacular sparks as they scraped against the flagship's armor. The third round found its mark. The projectile punched through the exhaust port and into the Dominator's main reactor. For a split second, nothing happened. Then the fusion containment field began to destabilize. "Direct hit," Amy announced. "The reactor is going critical." Admiral Vextar felt his ship shudder as the reactor began to tear itself apart. Alarms screamed throughout the flagship as radiation levels spiked and power systems failed. "Abandon ship," he ordered, but it was too late. The Dominator's reactor exploded with the force of a small star. The massive flagship was torn apart from the inside out, its hull cracking like an eggshell. Within seconds, the pride of the Zephyrian fleet was nothing but expanding debris and superheated gas. The New Dawn was caught in the edge of the explosion. The ship tumbled through space, its remaining systems failing one by one. On the bridge, the crew held on as their ship was battered by the shock wave. "Hull breach on Deck 3, Sam reported. "Life support is failing. We need to get to the escape pods." But Jake was staring at the tactical display with satisfaction. "Look," he said quietly. On the screen, they could see the planet Haven's Rest in the distance. The colony was safe. 50,000 innocent people would live to see another day because 4 humans in a disguised cargo ship had refused to back down. "We did it," Amy said in amazement. "We actually did it." Lisa was listening to radio transmissions from the colony. They saw the explosion. They know something happened, but they don't know what. "Let them think it was an accident," Jake said. "The fewer people who know about the Trojan Horse program, the better." The New Dawn limped toward Haven's Rest, its engines barely functioning. But it was alive, and so was its crew. They had faced impossible odds and won through courage, skill, and the refusal to give up. News of the battle spread quickly through the galaxy. The complete destruction of the Zephyrian Third Battle Fleet sent shock waves through the alien military. Other species began to look at human vessels with new respect and fear. The Zephyrian Dominion quietly canceled its expansion plans into human space. They had learned a hard lesson about underestimating their enemies. Humanity was not the weak, primitive species they had believed. On Earth, Jake Miller and his crew were quietly honored for their actions. They received new assignments and new disguised ships, ready to continue protecting human colonies throughout the galaxy. The Trojan Horse program expanded, placing more hidden weapons platforms among the merchant fleets. The galaxy had learned that any human ship, no matter how humble it appeared, might be hiding the fury of an entire species that refused to be conquered. And in the darkness between the stars, other alien races whispered warnings to each other. Never ignore a human vessel. You never know what might be hiding beneath its simple exterior. The age of underestimating humanity was over. The new dawn had seen to that. The stars looked peaceful from the bridge of the horizon's edge. Commander Jake Morrison stood at the main window, watching the distant lights twinkle in the darkness. His ship had been traveling through space for 3 weeks now, looking for new planets and alien life. "Commander, we're getting something strange on the sensors," said Amy Brooks from her station. She was the ship's communication officer, a young woman with bright eyes and quick fingers that danced across her control panel. Jake walked over to look at her screen. "What kind of strange?" "There's a ship out there. It's not moving, just floating in space. The design doesn't match anything in our databases." Dr. Lisa Carter looked up from her science station. She was a smart woman who had spent years studying alien technology. Could it be a new species? "Only one way to find out," Jake said. He turned to Tony Rodriguez, the ship's engineer. "Tony, can you get us closer without making noise?" Tony nodded and began working at his controls. The horizon's edge moved slowly toward the unknown ship. As they got closer, everyone could see it was huge and covered in strange markings. "It looks dead," Amy said. "No power readings, no movement. Maybe it's been floating here for years." Lisa suggested, "This could be the discovery we've been looking for." Jake made his decision. "We're going aboard. Tony, Lisa, you're with me. Amy, keep the ship ready and watch for any other ships in the area." The 3 of them put on their spacesuits and took a small shuttle over to the alien ship. They found an opening in the side and carefully entered. Inside, the ship was dark and cold. "The air is breathable," Lisa said, checking her equipment. "But it's very cold." They moved through the ship's corridors, their flashlights cutting through the darkness. The walls were covered in symbols they couldn't read. Everything felt old and empty. "This place gives me the creeps," Tony whispered. They found a large room filled with tall metal containers. Each container had a small window, and when Jake looked through one, he couldn't believe what he saw. "Lisa, Tony, get over here right now." Inside the container was a human child, a little girl with blonde hair, sleeping in some kind of frozen state. Jake's heart began beating fast as he ran to the next container, then the next. All of them held human children. "There must be hundreds of them," Lisa said, her voice shaking. "Jake, these are human children. What are they doing here?" Jake's mind raced. "They've been taking our people. Someone has been stealing human children." Tony was checking the container's control systems. The life support is still working. "These kids are alive, just frozen. We need to get them out of here," Jake said. "Amy, do you copy?" Amy's voice came through their radio. "I'm here, Commander. We found human children aboard this ship, hundreds of them. We need to prepare the medical bay and, Commander." Amy's voice was suddenly full of panic. "Ships. 3 alien ships just appeared out of nowhere. They're heading straight for us." Jake ran to a window and saw 3 dark ships moving toward them. They were sleek and dangerous looking, nothing like the old ship they were on. "It's a trap," he realized. This ship was bait. The alien ships began firing bright energy beams at the horizon's edge. Jake watched in horror as his ship's shields began to fail under the attack. "Amy, get us out of here," he shouted into his radio. "I'm trying, but they're jamming our systems." Lisa was working frantically at the children's containers. "I can wake some of them up, but it will take time." "We don't have time," Jake said. More energy beams hit their ship, and he could see explosions on the hull. Tony was trying to understand the alien ship systems. "I think I can power up this old ship. Maybe we can use it to escape." "Do it," Jake ordered. The old ship began to hum with power. Through the window, Jake could see the alien ships turning toward them. They had been discovered. "Got it," Tony shouted. "This ship can move." Jake grabbed his radio. "Amy, we're coming back in this alien ship. Get ready to run." They managed to wake up 50 of the children and move them to a safer part of the ship. The alien vessels kept firing, but the old ship was stronger than it looked. As they flew back toward the horizon's edge, one of the alien ships moved to block their path. Jake could see its weapons charging up for a deadly shot. "Hold on," he yelled. The alien ship fired, just as Lisa threw herself over a group of children to protect them. The energy beam hit the side of their ship, and Jake watched in horror as Lisa was caught in the explosion. "Lisa!" he screamed, but she was already gone. Tony somehow managed to dock their ship with the horizon's edge. They quickly moved the children aboard their own vessel while the alien ships continued their attack. "Jump, now!" Jake ordered as soon as everyone was aboard. The horizon's edge disappeared into hyperspace, just as the alien ships fired again. They had escaped, but barely. In the medical bay, Jake looked at the 50 children they had saved. They were scared and confused, speaking different languages, but they were alive. Lisa had died saving them. Amy found him there an hour later. "Commander, I've been analyzing the alien ship's data. You're not going to like what I found." Jake looked at her tired face. "Tell me, these aren't the first children they've taken. The records show they've been stealing humans for years, maybe decades." And Jake ... double quotes. She paused. "They don't think of us as people. To them, we're just animals." Jake felt a cold anger growing inside him. The aliens had made a big mistake. They had hurt his crew, stolen human children, and thought they could get away with it. "Set course for Earth," he said quietly. "It's time our people learned what's really happening out here." As the horizon's edge flew toward home, Jake stared out at the stars. They didn't look peaceful anymore. Now he knew that somewhere out there, aliens were hunting humans. But they had no idea what they had just awakened. The war was about to begin. The meeting room at Earth Defense Command was full of worried faces. Admiral Kate Sullivan sat at the head of the table, looking at the reports from the horizon's edge. Around her sat the most important military leaders on Earth. "Show them the recording," she said to Captain Ryan Pierce, the intelligence officer. Ryan pressed a button, and a hologram appeared in the center of the table. It showed the alien ship and the containers full of human children. Several people in the room made shocked sounds. "This is what Commander Morrison found 3 days ago," Ryan said. 50 human children, all taken from our colonies over the past 10 years. But that's not the worst part." He pressed another button, and alien symbols appeared in the air. "We've been working day and night to translate their language. What we found changes everything." General Marcus Webb leaned forward. "Just tell us, Pierce." "According to their records, we are classified as a Class 7 primitive species. That means we're considered animals, suitable only for experiments and slave work. The aliens call themselves the Zephyrian Collective, and they've been hunting us for generations." The room fell silent. Admiral Sullivan's face grew hard. How many of our people have they taken? We don't know exactly, but the numbers could be in the thousands, maybe tens of thousands. Ryan pulled up more data. They sell humans to other alien species across the galaxy. Some are used as fighters in games, others as test subjects for experiments. Some are kept as pets. Pets? Said Colonel Jane Miller, her voice full of anger. The aliens don't think we're smart enough to be real people. To them, we're just clever animals that can be trained to do simple jobs. Admiral Sullivan stood up. What else do we know about these Zephyrians? They're part of something called the Galactic Confederation. It's a group of alien species that controls most of the galaxy. They've been the ruling power for thousands of years. And they think they can just take our people? General Webb said. Doc Ryan nodded. But there's more. We managed to make contact with some of the humans who were taken. This surprised everyone. Contact? How? Admiral Sullivan asked. The children Morrison rescued had communication devices hidden in their clothes. We traced the signals and found a resistance network. There are humans fighting back across multiple star systems. The hologram changed to show a young woman with dark hair and determined eyes. This is Elena Vasquez. She's a second-generation human born in alien space. Her parents were taken when she was very young. Elena's recorded voice filled the room. Earthships, if you're receiving this, know that you are not alone. There are thousands of us out here, and we've been waiting for you to find us. The aliens made a mistake when they took us. They thought we would be easy to control, but they were wrong. Where is she? Admiral Sullivan asked. A mining world called Kepler 438b. She leads a group of about 300 humans who have been planning attacks on alien facilities. But they need help, the recording continued. We've learned to use alien technology. We've adapted to their worlds. Some of us have even developed enhanced abilities from exposure to alien environments. We're not the same humans who were taken, but we're still human, and we want to come home. General Webb was taking notes. What kind of enhanced abilities? Some can see in different types of light. Others are stronger or faster than normal humans. A few can even interface directly with alien computer systems. It seems that humans adapt to alien environments better than any other species the aliens have encountered. That's not all, Ryan said. Elena's group isn't the only one. We've detected at least 12 other human resistance cells across different star systems. They've been communicating with each other and planning coordinated strikes. Admiral. Sullivan walked to the window, looking out at the Earth below. So while we thought we were alone in the galaxy, our own people have been fighting a war out there. And winning, in some cases, Ryan added. The aliens are starting to realize that humans are more dangerous than they thought. Good, said Colonel Miller. What do they want from us? Ryan played another message. This time it was from a man with scars on his face and muscles that showed he'd been fighting for years. This is Sam Tucker, former Earth Marine. I've been in alien space for 8 years, most of it fighting in their gladiator games. I'm sending this message to tell you that we're ready to fight back, but we need Earth's help. We need ships, weapons, and reinforcements. The aliens are planning something big, and if we don't act soon, they'll start targeting Earth directly. The room was quiet for a moment. Then Admiral Sullivan turned back to the table. What are options? We can try to negotiate, said a civilian advisor. Maybe we can work out some kind of deal with this Galactic Confederation. Negotiate? General Webb stood up angrily. They've been stealing our children for decades. They think we're animals. But we're outgunned, the advisor argued. They have technology we can't match. Ryan cleared his throat. Actually, that might not be true. The data we recovered shows that human neural patterns are unique. We can learn and adapt to alien technology. faster than any other species they've encountered. Some of the rescued humans have been reverse engineering alien devices. What does that mean? Admiral Sullivan asked. It means we might be able to build weapons and ships that combine human and alien technology. We could have advantages they don't expect. Just then, an alarm sounded. A communication officer rushed into the room. Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from space. It's from the Zephyrians. Put it through, Admiral Sullivan ordered. The hologram changed to show a tall, thin alien with silver skin and large black eyes. Its voice was cold and mechanical when it spoke. People of Earth, I am Commander Zek of the Zephyrian Collective. Your species has interfered with our operations and stolen our property. You will immediately cease all deep space activities and surrender your space fleet. If you comply, we will allow your planet to continue existing under our protection. The alien paused, then continued. If you refuse, we will begin destroying your colonies one by one. You have 72 hours to decide. This is your only warning. The transmission ended, leaving the room in stunned silence. Admiral Sullivan looked around the table at her officers. Well, that makes our decision easier. We're not surrendering to anyone. But Admiral, the civilian advisor protested, they could destroy us. Maybe, she said, but they made one big mistake. They told us about our people out there fighting back. They thought they could scare us into giving up, but instead, they just showed us that humans don't quit. General Webb smiled grimly. So, what are your orders, Admiral? We're going to war. Contact Commander Morrison and tell him to get ready. We're going to rescue our people and show these aliens what happens when they mess with humanity. As the meeting ended and officers rushed to their duties, Admiral Sullivan stayed behind with Ryan. Do you really think we can win this? Ryan looked at the data on his screen, showing the locations of human resistance fighters across the galaxy. Admiral, they've been underestimating us for generations. They think we're just smart animals. But humans have something they don't. Understand? What's that? When you back us into a corner, when you threaten our families, when you make us truly angry, we don't just fight back. We fight to win, no matter what it costs. Admiral Sullivan nodded. Then let's show them what angry humans can do. The countdown had begun. In 72 hours, the galaxy would learn that humanity was no longer hiding. Among the stars, the war for human freedom was about to begin. The emergency meeting at the White House was unlike any in human history. President Daniel Hayes sat at his desk, surrounded by his top advisors, military leaders, and scientists. The alien ultimatum had arrived 6 hours ago, and the world was holding its breath. They want us to surrender our entire space program, President Hayes said, reading the message again. No more exploration, no more colonies, no more freedom to travel among the stars. Mr. President, said Admiral Sullivan through the video link, we can't give in to their demands. Our people are already out there fighting back. If we surrender, now we abandon them forever. General Webb stepped forward. Sir, we've been analyzing the alien technology from the ship Commander Morrison captured. Our scientists think we can build weapons that match theirs, maybe even better ones. How long would that take? The President asked. At least 6 months, maybe a year, Webb replied. We don't have that kind of time. They gave us 72 hours, and we're down to 66. Dr. Rachel Kim, Earth's top scientist for alien studies, had been quiet until now. Mr. President, I think we're looking at this wrong. We're not as helpless as we think. Everyone turned to look at her. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and a mind that worked faster than most computers. Explain, the President said. The alien technology we captured isn't just advanced. It's designed to work with different types of brains. When I tested it with human volunteers, something amazing happened. Humans can learn to use alien technology in ways the aliens never intended. She pulled up a holographic display showing brain scans. Human neural patterns are incredibly flexible. We can adapt and improvise in ways that other species can't. The aliens built their technology to be efficient, but we can make it creative. What does that mean in practical terms? Admiral Sullivan asked. It means that the humans fighting in alien space aren't just using stolen weapons. They're improving them, combining different technologies, creating new solutions. We're not just adapting to alien technology, we're making it better. General Webb looked interested. Can we do the same thing here on Earth? We already are, Dr. Kim said. The team working on the captured ship has made 3 major breakthroughs in the past 2 days. We figured out how to make their shields stronger, their weapons more accurate, and their engines faster. President Hayes felt a spark of hope. Show me. Dr. Kim led them to a secure lab where a team of engineers was working on pieces of alien technology. This is the power core from their ship, she said, pointing to a glowing crystal. It was running at about 60% efficiency when we found it. Now watch. A young engineer named Pete Wilson connected some human-made wires to the crystal. It immediately began glowing brighter. We've increased its output by 40%, Dr. Kim explained. The aliens never thought to try that configuration. How? Is that possible? Admiral Sullivan asked. Because they think in straight lines, Pete said. Their technology is very advanced, but it's also very rigid. They do things the same way their ancestors did. Humans, on the other hand, are natural tinkers. We see something and immediately wonder how to make it better. Dr. Kim showed them more examples. Human engineers had made alien weapons that could fire different types of energy. They had improved alien sensors to detect things the original builders never imagined. They had even figured out how to make alien ship hulls stronger using Earth materials. This is incredible, President Hayes said. But can we build enough of these improvements to matter in a war? That's the beautiful part, Dr. Kim replied. We don't need to build everything from scratch. According to the messages from Elena Vasquez and the other resistance fighters, there are abandoned alien facilities all across the galaxy. If we can capture them, we can turn their own infrastructure against them. Just then, an aide rushed into the room. Mr. President, we're receiving another transmission from the resistance fighters. The hologram showed Elena Vasquez, but this. Times she looked excited instead of desperate. Earth Command, we just received word that you found some of our people. We are ready to coordinate our attacks with whatever you're planning. Elena, Admiral Sullivan said, what's your current situation? We've been preparing for this day for years. We have weapons caches hidden on 12 different worlds. We've infiltrated alien communication networks. We've even turned some of their own security systems against them. But most importantly, we've been recruiting. Recruiting who? Other alien species. Not all of them agree with the Zephyrian Collective. Some of them have been enslaved just like us. When they saw humans fighting back, they started to hope that maybe they could be free too. This was news to everyone on Earth. Are you saying we have alien allies? President Hayes asked. Small groups, mostly. But they're spread across the galaxy, and they know things we don't. They've been teaching us about Zephyrian weaknesses, about how their government works, about where their most important facilities are located. Sam Tucker's voice came through the transmission. Mr. President, the aliens made a big mistake when they gave you that ultimatum. They thought it would scare you into giving up. Instead, it just told every human in the galaxy that Earth was ready to fight back. What do you mean? Admiral Sullivan asked. The message was broadcast on open channels. Every human in alien space heard it. Right now, resistance cells are activating across 50 different star systems. We're not just fighting for survival anymore. We're fighting for freedom. Alana's face reappeared. Earth Command, we're ready to begin Operation Homecoming. We've identified the locations of major human prison camps and slave facilities. If you can provide support, we can start freeing our people within hours. President Hayes looked around the room at his advisors. General Webb, how quickly can we mobilize? Our space fleet? We have 30 ships ready for deep space operations. They're not as advanced as alien vessels, but with Dr. Kim's improvements, they might be able to hold their own. Do it, the President decided. Admiral Sullivan, I'm authorizing immediate military action. We're not surrendering to anyone. Yes, sir, Admiral Sullivan replied with a smile. I'll contact Commander Morrison and get our ships moving. As the meeting broke up, Dr. Kim stayed behind with the President. Sir, there's something else you should know. The tests we've been running on human volunteers show that exposure to alien technology doesn't just let us use their devices. It's actually changing us. Changing us how? Some of the volunteers are developing enhanced cognitive abilities. Others are showing improved physical capabilities. It's like human DNA is designed to adapt to alien environments. President Hayes thought about this. Is that good or bad? I think it's exactly what we need. The aliens have been controlling the galaxy for thousands of years because they're more advanced than everyone else. But humans aren't just adapting to their technology. We're evolving beyond it. 2 hours later, the President addressed the world. My fellow humans, today we learned that we are not alone in the galaxy. We also learned that for decades, our people have been taken from us by aliens who think we are nothing more than animals. He paused, looking directly into the camera. They are wrong. Today, we begin the fight to bring our people home. Today, we show the galaxy that humanity will not be enslaved, will not be silenced, and will not be stopped. Across the world, people watched as the first human war fleet prepared to launch into deep space. In secret bases, scientists worked around the clock to build weapons that combined human creativity with alien technology. And in the darkness between the stars, human resistance fighters prepared to strike back at their captors. The Zephyrian Collective had wanted to scare humanity into submission. Instead, they had awakened something they didn't understand, the fury of a species that had never learned how to quit dot in alien space. Elena Vasquez received the message that Earth was coming. She smiled as she looked at her fellow fighters, humans who had been slaves, but had become warriors. Did you hear that? She told her team. Earth is coming. It's time to remind the galaxy what happens when you mess with humanity. The war had begun, and the aliens were about to learn that they had made the biggest mistake in galactic history. The Terran Fury was the most advanced ship humanity had ever built. Commander Jake Morrison stood on its bridge, watching the stars ahead as his fleet prepared for the biggest rescue mission in human history. Behind him, 30 Earth ships followed, each one equipped with the new hybrid technology that combined human engineering with captured alien systems. Commander, said Captain Amy Brooks, now his second in command, we're receiving signals from the resistance fighters. They're ready to coordinate their attacks with our arrival. Jake nodded. 3 months had passed since the alien ultimatum, and humanity had not been idle. While the Zephyrians waited for Earth's surrender, human engineers had been working day and night to build a war fleet that could match alien technology. What's our first target? Jake asked. The mining world of Kepler 438b, Amy replied. Elena Vasquez reports that there are over 2,000 human prisoners there, including many children. It's also a major supply depot for the Zephyrian military. Dr. Rachel Kim, now serving as the fleet's science advisor, looked up from her instruments. Commander, I'm detecting something interesting about that system. The aliens have been using human workers there for over 50 years. Some of the prisoners have been there their entire lives. What does that mean for our mission? It means they've had time to really understand alien technology. Elena's people aren't just using stolen weapons. They've been improving and modifying alien systems for decades. They might be more advanced than we are. Jake smiled. Good. We're going to need every advantage we can get. The fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler 438 system. Immediately, alarms began sounding as alien patrol ships detected their arrival. 6 Zephyrian vessels approaching, reported Lieutenant Mike Foster from the weapons station. They're demanding we surrender immediately. Response? Amy asked. Tell them we're here to collect our people, Jake said. If they want to fight, we're ready. The alien ships opened fire first, sending bright energy beams toward the human fleet. But the Earth ships were ready. Their new shields, designed by human engineers who had studied captured alien technology, held strong against the attack. Return fire, Jake ordered. The human weapons were different from what the aliens expected. Instead of simple energy beams, they fired bursts of modified plasma that could adapt to different types of shields. The alien ships, built to fight predictable. Enemies were caught off guard. 2 alien vessels exploded in the first exchange of fire. The others retreated, sending urgent messages to their command centers. They're calling for reinforcements, Amy reported. We have maybe 30 minutes before more ships arrive. Then we better work fast, Jake said. Launch the assault teams. Down on the planet's surface, Helena Vasquez watched the battle in the sky through her hidden observation post. Around her, 300 human resistance fighters prepared for their part in the operation. Earth ships, she said into her communicator. We're ready down here. The main prison complex is heavily guarded, but we've been planning this attack for months. Elena, this is Commander Morrison. What do you need from us? Just keep those ships busy. We'll handle the ground forces. Elena turned to her team. These weren't the scared prisoners the aliens thought they were controlling. They were humans who had been shaped by years of struggle, who had learned to fight with alien weapons and think with alien knowledge. Remember, she told them, we're not just rescuing prisoners today. We're showing the galaxy that humans don't stay down when you knock us over. The attack began simultaneously from space and ground. While Jake's fleet fought the alien ships, Elena's team struck at the prison complex with weapons the aliens had. Never seen before. Sam Tucker led a group of former gladiators against the main gate. He had spent years fighting in alien arenas, learning how their warriors thought and moved. Now he used that knowledge to predict their tactics and counter them. There, trying to surround us, he called out to his team. Standard Zephyrian formation. Switch to pattern 7. The humans moved like they had been fighting together for years, which many of them had. They used alien weapons, but they fought with human creativity and adaptability. The alien guards, trained to fight predictable battles, couldn't keep up. Meanwhile, in space, the battle was not going as the aliens expected. The human ships were smaller and supposedly less advanced, but they were fighting with tactics no alien military had ever encountered. Amy, bring us around behind that cruiser, Jake ordered. Dr. Kim, can you boost power to the forward weapons? Already on it, Dr. Kim replied. I've rerouted power from the shields to the guns. We'll be vulnerable for 30 seconds, but our firepower will triple. Do it. The Terran Fury suddenly accelerated toward the alien cruiser, its weapons charging. With more power than should have been possible. The alien ship tried to turn to face them, but human ships were more maneuverable than Zephyrian vessels. The blast from the Terran Fury's weapons cut through the cruiser's shields like they weren't. There, the alien ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light. That's impossible, came a transmission from the remaining alien ships. Your weapons shouldn't be able to penetrate our shields. Maybe you don't know us as well as you think, Jake replied. On the planet, Alana's team had reached the prison complex. The sight that greeted them was heartbreaking and enraging at the same time. Thousands of humans were kept in small cells, many of them children who had been taken from their families years ago. Get them out, Elena ordered. All of them. We're not leaving anyone behind. As the prison doors opened, something amazing happened. The freed humans didn't run or panic. Instead, they organized themselves quickly and efficiently. Many of them had skills and knowledge that the resistance fighters needed. I'm Dr. Linda Gray, said an older woman who had been prisoner for 15 years. I was taken while doing research on alien biology. I've learned things about the Zephyrians that might help you. What kind of things? Elena asked. They're not as strong as they pretend to be. Their technology is advanced, but it's also very old. They haven't innovated in centuries. They just use the same weapons and tactics their ancestors used. That explains why they can't adapt to our fighting style, Sam Tucker said, joining the conversation. We keep changing our tactics, but they keep responding the same way. The rescue operation was succeeding, but Elena knew the real test was coming. Zephyrian reinforcements were arriving, and this time they would be ready for human tactics. Elena, came Jake's voice over the communicator. We've got 20 more alien ships incoming. Can you get everyone off the planet? Working on it, she replied. But Jake, we found something down here. The aliens have been using this place for more than just mining. They've been experimenting on humans, trying to understand how we adapt to their technology. What did they learn? That's the thing. They still don't understand. They think our adaptability is a weakness, something that makes us unpredictable and unreliable. They don't realize it's actually our greatest strength. Captain Amy Brooks, monitoring the battle from the Terran Fury, suddenly understood something important. Commander, I think I know why we're winning these battles. Explain. The aliens have been fighting the same way for thousands of years. They have better technology, but they use it in predictable patterns. We're not just adapting to their technology. We're adapting faster than they can respond. Jake nodded. It's like Dr. Kim said. We're not just using their weapons. We're making them better. The evacuation ships began launching from the planet's surface, carrying freed humans back to the waiting fleet. But Elena wasn't finished with her mission. Sam, take half the team and escort the evacuees to the ships. The rest of us have one more job to do. What's that? We're going to destroy this place. Every prison, every experimental facility, every piece of equipment they used to hurt our people. When we're done, the Zephyrians will know that humans don't just escape. We fight back. As the alien reinforcements arrived, they found something they hadn't expected. The human ships weren't retreating. Instead, they were fighting harder than ever, protecting the evacuation ships with desperate courage. But it wasn't desperation. That drove them. It was purpose. For the first time in decades, humans were fighting back as a united species. They had found their people, and they were bringing them home. The battle for Kepler 438b was just the beginning. Across the galaxy, other human resistance cells were launching their own attacks, coordinated with Earth's fleet. The Zephyrian Collective was about to learn that they had awakened something they couldn't control. Humanity was no longer hiding. Among the stars, they were fighting back, and they were winning as the last evacuation ship left the planet's surface. Elena looked back at the burning remains of the prison complex. This is for everyone who didn't make it, she whispered. We're coming home. The war was far from over, but humanity had taken its first major victory. The galaxy would never be the same. The Zephyrian home system had never been attacked in over 3,000 years. Now, as Admiral Kate Sullivan's massive fleet emerged from hyperspace, alarms screamed across dozens of worlds that had known only peace and dominance. Fleet status. Report. Admiral Sullivan ordered from the bridge of her flagship, the Earth's Vengeance. 87 ships ready for battle, reported Captain Ryan Pierce, including 15 vessels crewed entirely by rescued humans who know alien technology. Inside and out. 6 months had passed since the first rescue mission. In that time, humanity had launched 17 successful operations, freeing over 50,000 humans from alien captivity. But more importantly, they had learned the truth about the Zephyrian Collective. "Admiral," said Elena Vasquez, now serving as a special advisor to the fleet, "our intelligence indicates that the Zephyrians are desperate. They've been recalling ships from across the galaxy to defend their home system." "Good," Admiral Sullivan replied. "That means our other operations are working. How many human resistance cells are active now?" "Over 40, spread across 32 star systems. And it's not just humans anymore. We've got alien allies on 12 different worlds." Commander Jake Morrison joined the conversation from his ship, the Terran Fury. "Admiral, we're detecting massive energy readings from the planet's surface. They're powering up something big." Dr. Rachel Kim's voice came through the communication system from the science vessel Discovery. "I'm analyzing the energy patterns. It's unlike anything we've seen before. The power levels are enormous. What do you think it is?" Admiral Sullivan asked. "Based on the data we recovered from captured facilities, I believe it's their ultimate weapon. Intelligence reports suggested they were working on some kind of consciousness transfer technology." Elena's face grew serious. "Admiral, during my years in captivity, I heard rumors about a Zephyrian project called the Great Uploading. They've been trying to find a way to transfer their minds into other species' bodies." "Why would they want to do that?" Jake asked. "Because they're dying," Elena replied. "The Zephyrians are an ancient race, but their bodies are failing. They've been looking for a new host species for generations. That's why they've been taking humans. We were supposed to be their next bodies." Admiral Sullivan felt a chill run down her spine. "They want to take over human bodies?" "It gets worse," Dr. Kim said. "According to the data, they believe human. Neural patterns are perfect for consciousness transfer. Our adaptability, which they thought was a weakness, actually makes us ideal hosts." "Not if we stop them first," said Sam Tucker from his assault ship. "Admiral, my teams are ready to hit the surface installations. Whatever they're building down there, we can destroy it." "Wait," Dr. Kim interrupted. "I'm getting some strange readings from the planet. The consciousness transfer device, it's not just being powered up, it's being activated." Suddenly, the space around the human fleet filled with bright light. A massive beam shot out from the planet's surface, targeting the largest concentration of human ships. "Evasive maneuvers," Admiral Sullivan ordered. "All ships scatter formation." But the beam wasn't meant to destroy ships. As it washed over the human vessels, something extraordinary happened. Instead of killing the crews, the beam seemed to be trying to connect with their minds. "Admiral," shouted Captain Amy Brooks from the Terran Fury, "the beam is trying to access our neural patterns. It's the consciousness transfer device." Dr. Kim was frantically working at her instruments. "They're trying to upload Zephyrian minds into human bodies, but something's going wrong. Human neural patterns are too complex. The transfer is failing." On the planet's surface, the Zephyrian leadership watched in horror as their ultimate weapon backfired. Instead of taking over human minds, the consciousness transfer was working in reverse. Human thoughts and memories were flowing back into Zephyrian systems. "This is impossible," screamed the Zephyrian High Commander. "The primitive species cannot resist our technology." But humans weren't just resisting, they were adapting. Elena Vasquez, standing on the bridge of the Earth's Vengeance, suddenly felt a strange sensation in her mind. Images and knowledge that weren't her own began flowing through her consciousness. "Elena, what's happening?" Admiral Sullivan asked, seeing her advisor's eyes glowing with a strange light. I can see it, Elena whispered. I can see their memories, their history, their weaknesses. Admiral, they're not the ancient masters they pretend to be. They conquered the galaxy by stealing technology from other species. They haven't innovated anything in thousands of years. Across the human fleet, similar transformations were happening. Humans who had been exposed to the consciousness transfer beam were gaining access to centuries of Zephyrian knowledge, but their human minds remained intact and in control. Sam Tucker laughed as alien technical knowledge flooded his mind. I know how to shut down their defense systems. I can see the command codes. Dr. Kim was amazed by what she was witnessing. The consciousness transfer is giving us access to their entire technological database, but our neural patterns are too flexible for them to control. We're absorbing their knowledge without losing ourselves. Then let's use it, Admiral Sullivan decided. All ships with affected crew members, share what you're learning. Let's turn their own weapon against them. The battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Human ships, now guided by crews with access to alien knowledge, began outmaneuvering and outfighting Zephyrian vessels that had seemed invincible just hours before. Their shield generators are located here, Elena said, pointing to a tactical display. And their weapon systems have a 2-second delay between shots. Jake used this knowledge to guide his fleet through the Zephyrian defenses like they weren't there. Target their command ship. If we can capture their leaders, we can end this war. The assault on the Zephyrian command vessel was led by Amy Brooks and a team of Marines who now understood alien technology better than its creators. They moved through the ship's corridors with perfect knowledge of its layout, disabling security systems and capturing surprised alien soldiers. Bridge secured, Amy reported. Admiral, you need to see this. The Zephyrian High Commander was an ancient creature, kept alive by machines and technology stolen from dozens of conquered species. When he looked at the humans who had captured him, his eyes showed not anger, but fear. How is this possible? He whispered, You are primitives. You should have been easy to control. That was your mistake, Amy replied. You thought being adaptable made us weak. But adaptability is what makes us human. Admiral Sullivan's voice came through the communicator. Commander Brooks, what's the status of their consciousness transfer device? Destroyed, Admiral. But the effects are permanent. Every human who was exposed to the beam now has access to Zephyrian knowledge. We know everything they know. Across the Zephyrian home system, alien forces were surrendering as human ships, guided by their enhanced crews, systematically dismantled the Empire's defenses. The other species of the Galactic Confederation, who had remained silent during humanity's enslavement, suddenly found themselves facing a choice. This is Ambassador Keth of the Altarian Republic, came a transmission to the human fleet. We wish to negotiate terms for our surrender and cooperation with human forces. Ambassador, Admiral Sullivan replied, humanity isn't interested in building an empire. We want our people back, and we want to make sure this never happens to anyone else. Over the following weeks, the galaxy transformed. The Zephyrian Collective collapsed as subject species rebelled, inspired by humanity's success. Human knowledge, enhanced by alien technology, spread to oppressed peoples across dozens of worlds. Galena Vasquez found herself serving as humanity's first ambassador to the new Galactic Council, an organization dedicated to cooperation rather than domination. The Zephyrians made one critical error. She told the assembled representatives of 50 different species. They thought that being different meant being inferior. They never understood that diversity is strength. On Earth, President Daniel Hayes addressed a celebration in New York. Today, we welcome home over 100,000 humans who were taken from us. But more than that, We celebrate the fact that humanity has taken its place among the stars, not as conquerors, but as liberators. Commander Jake Morrison, now Admiral Morrison, stood with his crew aboard the Terran Fury as they prepared for humanity's next mission, helping other species develop their own defense capabilities. "You know," Amy Brooks said to him, "the aliens were right about one thing. Humans are adaptable. But they never understood that our greatest adaptation is our ability to help others adapt too." Sam Tucker, now leading a joint human-alien security force, smiled as he watched former enemy species working together. They wanted to use our bodies as hosts for their consciousness. Instead, they ended up hosting our ideas about freedom and cooperation. Dr. Rachel Kim continued her research, but now she was working with scientists from dozens of species, sharing knowledge and making discoveries that benefited everyone. The consciousness transfer didn't just give us access to alien technology, she explained to her diverse research team. It proved that consciousness itself adapts and grows when it's free to do so. As the celebration continued on Earth and across the galaxy, Helena stood on the Obe,